Welcome back to the 9th Gym program, and today we are doing something a little bit different, something that I've never done on this channel, but we are going to be making a tier list for Series 6. Now, I hope everything is here, because I just, Googled Series 6 tier list maker, so, yeah, I hope everything's here, but it looks like everything's here. There's nothing that I was just like, that I looked over and I was just missing. So, this is what we're going with. So we're going to make a tier list out of this, so let's do it. So yeah, let's start it off at the beginning with this Charizard. I think Charizard gets a solid A tier. Super strong G-Max attack. Very, very good. It's the best Pokemon to use in Sun, really. So, yeah, I think it's deserving of A. Next, we have Butterfree, and you know what? It starts with B, so we might as well put it in Butterfree. In the B tier. That's not the actual reason. Why it's good is it has Sleep Powder. It also has Rage Powder. Both are very good support moves. We saw a lot of Bronzong Butterfree or Butterfree and Dusclops at the beginning of the meta. So I think, that's probably fine. I still think it's good. Maybe C tier, but we'll give it B tier for now. Maybe we'll move it down. Another B tier Pokemon for Raichu. I think Raichu is pretty good. It has a lot of good usage with some random Pokemon, things like Gyarados from before. Now we'll see it with things like Lapras. Help that out with the Lightning Rod. Help out your weakness to electric type moves. It also gets like Fake Out, Nuzzle, some really good moves. So, yeah, I think Raichu's a pretty solid B tier Pokemon. Sandslash, I'm going to give it C. I think it's deserving of B. I think it does some really cool stuff with Sand Rush, but we'll leave it at C for now because I just don't expect to see it that much, Like, as far as Sand Sweepers, I think Stoutland might be better. I don't even know, really. Sandslash isn't that good, though. Clefairy, I want to give it A. I almost want to give it S. It's kind of like, it's like a weak S or like a strong A. I think I'm going to give it S. It just has the ability to really be a great redirection user and just such a strong Pokemon in this meta. Eviolite, slap Eviolite on there. It's super bulky. It gets Follow Me. It gets Heal Pulse, Helping Hand. Like, its moveset is amazing. It helps. It is a very good support Pokemon, and it's one of our best redirection users. So I'm going to give it S tier. It's just so good. Clefable, I'm going to give it C tier. It could be deserving of B, but I'm giving it C. It does have Follow Me, which is really good, but it doesn't do like a lot of damage, and it's not like as bulky without Eviolite. So, Clefairy's just better. So I'm putting you in C. B tier for Ninetales. It's the best Sunsetter that we have now. No more Torkoal, so it's going to be getting some usage, and I think B is pretty fair. Maybe C tier, like, it's probably deserving of C tier, to be honest, but we'll give it B because it's the only Sunsetter, and I like that. Wigglytuff, I will give it C. It has competitive. Competitive is not bad. D tier is just for, like, really bad Pokemon that we're not going to be using, and not all the D tier Pokemon are bad. Honestly, we should add F tier, just because, like, there's not really, F tier is really bad. Can we add? Actually, how do we add one? I don't know how to add it. So we're just gonna leave it at D tier for as the worst. But yeah, it's not deserving of D tier. Speaking of Pokemon that are not deserving of D tier, Vileplume. It's not deserving of D tier, but it's not that good. As far as just chlorophyll users, I'd rather use Lilligant. Since we don't have Venusaur anymore. Although I do kind of put Lilligant probably at C tier as well. So, kind of leaning D tier. Lilligant's actually just better than Vileplume. So, yeah. Sorry, Vileplume. Speaking of D tier, Dugtrio, I think that's pretty, relevant. It just doesn't do that much. It's kind of a fast beat-up user, but we still have faster beat-up users, like Salazzle or Weavile, Sneasel, so whatever. I think D is fine for it. We'll put not Arcanine. God, no Arcanine in D tier. We'll put Persian in D tier. It doesn't really do much. Is really all I got to say. Like, it's not doing anything. Once again, I think an S tier is pretty fair for Arcanine here. We've seen Pokemon like this in S tier every single format. Like a strong, intimidate Pokemon that can be really good supportively with, like, you know, Snarl, Helping Hand, Safeguard, you know, all of that stuff. But then it also has Intimidate, which, like, obviously it's very good. Like, I shouldn't really have to explain much more for Arcanine. Like, it's very fair to be an S tier. Like, maybe A tier, like, but the highest A tier, so we're just putting it in S. Alakazam is kind of bad now, unfortunately. Like, I would have put it here probably before, and now it's probably deserving of here, but honestly I'm gonna put it in D. Without Indeedee, like, there's no Psy Spam, so, you know, there's not really much of a point to use Alakazam anymore without Indeedee, unfortunately. Machamp I'm gonna put in D tier as well, but I do think it's, like, you know, maybe worth C tier, but we're gonna put it in D tier because it's just not that good, you know. It's really cool. It has the, you know, no guard, dynamic punch stuff, but yeah, it's just not that good. Tentacruel, I mean, I'm gonna put it in D tier. It's not that good either, you know. Like, it has, like, some good special attacks and like you know, like, good, like, max move special attacks and stuff, but it just doesn't really do much, so I don't think it's worth anything more than D tier. Same with you. Sorry, you're just not doing that much, you know. Like, you wouldn't Intimidate. This Pokemon is pretty much dead. Like, it's just not that good. I don't know why this is even on here, to be honest. Like, that's pretty weird that that's on there, but oh well, it's fine. Cloyster, I'll give it a C tier. It's a little bit better than, like, a lot of these D tier Pokemon, you know, more so in singles. Like, Shell Smash is really good in singles, but, and this is a VGC tier list, so, you know, it's probably deserving of D, but we'll give it C because, you know, it does more than all these other Pokemon. I can definitely say that much. Gengar, actually, I'll give it B because Gengar has been doing pretty well recently. Actually, I'm gonna give it C. I think Gengar is pretty cool. You know, it does some really good stuff. It's a very strong, like, special attacker with just Shadow Ball and Sludge Bomb, but it also has some really interesting stuff, like Imprison, like Trick Room, Imprison, Protect. Like, it can be a really good fast Trick Room user as well as a fast Icy Wind user. So, you know, it definitely has some usages in the meta. It's almost B, but I'm gonna leave it in C because I think these Pokemon are all better than Gengar, like, overall, you know. Kingler, you're D. I mean, if you want, like, some form of maxing and then speed control, you're not going for Kingler. You're gonna go for, like, PZ or, like, something not this guy, you know. C, I'm gonna give Executor C instead of D. You know, it's pretty cool. It has Chlorophyll, which is pretty sweet. I would consider this a better Chlorophyll mon than Vileplume, but not better than Lilligant. So Lilligant will be, like, higher up on C tier, but we're not gonna, like, be worried about that. But yeah, I mean, we have Chlorophyll. It's fast. It's you know, it can be a Trick Room Pokemon as well as a Chlorophyll fast Pokemon. So it's a very versatile Pokemon on the team, on a Sun team, and I think that's pretty cool. So I like that guy. Marowak, actually, I've seen some people bring this Pokemon to some success in this series so far. You know, a couple of times I've lost to it on ladder and stuff, and it's pretty cool. You know, it does a lot of damage with Thick Club, so why wouldn't I put it in better than D at least? Hitmonlee, I would have put it in C with Indeedee, but now that we lost Indeedee and Rillaboom, the two best unburdened Pokemon, or the two best Pokemon that's set with a Surge for unburdened Pokemon, yeah, without those, D tier. You'd be here last format, now you're here. Sorry, bud. You're not changing. Sorry, Hitmonchan. You're chilling at D. Not that good. If it was last format, I would put this Pokemon in C and get Galar Weaseling, but I think I'm actually going to put it at B. You know, I think Wolfie's team alone is enough to put this in B tier because it's just so good. You know, negating abilities is huge in a format filled with things like beat up strats and Colossal. You know, a lot of really good abilities out there, and, you know, he kind of just turns it off. It's also good because it has Taunt. It actually does pretty good special attacking damage with the other moves. Yeah, I think, you know, Weezing has shown off its versatility and usefulness. So yeah, we're putting it in B tier instead of C. Chansey's a meme. Like, let's give it D. We should probably give it meme tier format, but whatever. You know, it's fine. I don't know how to add. You should definitely be able to add tiers. But oh well. We're putting it in D. Just know that this guy's actually in meme format. Like, it's not really in D. It's more in meme tier. But oh well, it's fine. How have I never made a tier list before? Oh well, it's whatever. Kangaskhan, I think you're probably deserving of D, although like people have brought up Kangaskhan like being a scrappy fake out user, being able to stop things like Sableye, which is actually pretty relevant in the format, you know, so it's probably deserving of C, but I'm gonna leave it in D because it's like the highest up, or it's like kind of like up here in D, but like so are you, and I guess so are you, and so are you, so like whatever, it's fine. They're fine to be high D, you know, low C, whatever. Next we have Seaking. You know, Seaking does some cool stuff with Lightning Rod. I'll actually put it at C, but like I'm gonna put it in D. But it does excuse me. It does some cool things. Yeah, my throat just died there for a second. Yeah, it does some cool things, but no, it's not worth of C. Mr. Mime, people played it at the beginning as a kind of fast Icy Wind user, but it's not really that good. Tauros I'll give C. I would rather give Tauros C than any of these Pokemon, like any of the Pokemon in D. So, like, it has Intimidate, which is good, but it also has Anger Point, so you can really use that Pokemon in a multitude of ways, and I think it's pretty good. So yeah, I like it. Lapras, I think it's deserving of S tier, but I don't know if I want to just put like an attacking Pokemon that does like, I don't know. I think it's probably fine to put this Pokemon here. I think like S should be really less specific Pokemon. Like I wouldn't want to put like PZ in S tier. I'd want to put it in A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Lapras here in A tier, but just know that once again, it is the highest up in A tier. Like it is so high up in A tier that it's practically S tier. But you know, it doesn't fit on every single team like these can. And, you know, just these core Pokemon that, like, give your team a backbone and they glue your team together, I think those are deserving of S tier. But Lapras is deserving of A tier. Just because, like, if you make a team, it's a Lapras team. But if you make a team and add these Pokemon on it, it's just like a balanced, well-balanced, good team. You know what I mean? So I'm going to put you here. But it could definitely be there and it would be fine. Vaporeon, I'll give it D tier probably. Like, if you want bulky, good water type Pokemon, there's a multitude of things you use. You know, Lapras is one of them, Primarina is one of them, you know, Rotom Mow is one of them, but Vaporeon really isn't one of them. It is cool, and I do, like, you know, it does register that it does some really cool things, so, yeah, but it's not, like, super deserving. Jolteon, I want to give C tier, but you know what? We'll give Jolteon B tier. This thing does a lot of damage, and with all those top speed Pokemon that we took out of the meta, Jolteon moves really, really fast, and I think it's pretty deserving of B tier. I mean, this team, you know, like the Weezing Jolteon team, has been doing really well. It's everywhere on the ladder because, like, Wolfie put that out in a video, so yeah, I think it's deserving of B, and it's going to get B for this list. Flareon D tier, it's the worst evolution probably. Like, it just doesn't do that much for, you know, for a fire type. Like, if you're using this over, like, good, bulky, good fire types like Arcanine or something, like, that's kind of weird. But, like, I get it because it's cool, and it does some stuff different, but, yeah, I'm not using Flareon. Snorlax, I'll give C tier. It does some really cool stuff with G-Max, you know, and in C tier, like, it would be the highest up in the C tier. You know, like, of course, like, these are the 3 highest up in C tier, and then probably this, like, we'll order the tiers a little bit, but not, like, not perfect, you know. But yeah, Snorlax is really good for C tier. Like, its G-Max is really strong, but losing all of our good Follow Me users makes it a little bit, like, weaker. Like, it was good, really good with Togekiss, because Togekiss could also then put on offensive pressure the turn after it Follow Me's, and, you know, Clefairy can't do that. And neither can Amoonguss. Like, our redirection users just don't really, you know, serve Snorlax as well as they did. So we put it, you know, C tier. It makes sense. There's 2 Noctowls, but Noctowl will be D tier, like, regardless of how many Noctowls there are. So yeah, Noctowl's in D tier. Zaytune is in D tier. I shouldn't really, like, it does imprison stuff, which is cool, but then it also still, you know, it just doesn't have the much, like, offensive pressure. I shouldn't have to explain that too much. Azumaro's really good. I think it's deserving of B tier, maybe C tier, but I'm going to put it in B tier. You know, it's really strong. It has huge power, which is great. It's good under Trick Room. You know, its typing is good. It's a bulky water type, which is pretty good. You know, in a format where, like, our strongest things against that is, like, Dracozold or Jolteon. You know, so this is pretty good. It also has some really cool, like, random synergies, like Misty Explosion, Passimian, and stuff. So I think it's deserving of B tier. Sudowoodo, nobody's using Sudowoodo. It's fine to be in D tier. B tier, definitely for this. I think Rain got a little overhyped. Everybody was thinking Rain was just going to be immediately, like, one of the best. But, you know what? Kingdra is, like, pretty mediocre. You know, it's definitely good. It's definitely good. But I think all of these strats are just better. Like, the Charizard, the Lapras strats, like, Dracozolt PZ. Like, all of the main strats, I think, are just better than Rain. But I think Rain is definitely relevant and definitely good. Nobody's really using Quagsire. Put it in D tier. If you want like a bulky water ground, you use Gastron. Like, they do pretty similar things, but it's just better most of the time. Espeon, I'll give D tier as well. You know, it's pretty cool. It does some good damage sometimes, but like, it's not really doing enough. Evolutions, you know what? Umbreon I do give a little bit better than all these like other random evolutions. Like, not really random evolutions, but like Vaporeon, Espeon, Flareon, like, they're not doing that much. But, you know, like, this is pretty good. Snarl's good, Yawn's good, Moonlight Protect can be good, you know, Toxic. Like, you can do a lot of damage, like, passive damage, and Umbreon's very bulky. So I'll give it C over D, but, like, yeah, it's pretty low in C tier, though. Slowking, I want to give it higher than D, but I'm going to give it D. It's just not that great, you know, and, yeah, it's just not that great. I played it like a long time ago in like this Gastrodon Slowking, but like now that we have things like Rillaboom, it's just not that good. We don't have Rillaboom right now though, and this is Series 6, so you know, it is a little bit higher up in D tier, but I mean, not by much. Like, it's just not that great. You know, if you're looking for like a bulky, good Trick Room setter, like, there's definitely better. You know, it's fine. Dunsparce, I'm not going to explain this guy much. It's in D tier. D tier for Steelix as well. Steelix does do some good damage with Sheer Force and stuff, but, you know, Dynamax ignores that. So if you Dynamax it, which is probably the best way to use this, it essentially just has no ability. So, you know, you don't get maximum value out of using this Pokemon. So yeah, D tier is fine. Scissor, I'm going to give it C tier. I think, you know, it's a pretty good attacker and stuff, but only really on a rain team. Because of that 4 times weakness to fire, and we have things like Arcanine on almost every team. Hitting like a Heat Wave will knock it out, and that really sucks. And Scizor looks like it should be super fast, but it's not super fast. So C tier. Shuckle D tier, but once again, this Pokemon's in meme tier. Like, these Pokemon are just memes, you know. Like, I'm not gonna. Yeah. Can we add? Oh, cool. I can add. All right, cool. Add 2 rows, and we're gonna fix this real quick because this is F tier. Well, I guess it's E tier, but like, you never hear E. Oh well. So there we go. We added E in meme tier. So let's go ahead and add these 2 to meme tier, and then put all of the guys that are actually just not good at all down here. Like, and not good at all. That's definitely too bad for, like, that's not giving them enough credit, but whatever. They don't need that much credit. They're not that good, you know? Like, I'm putting them in E tier. So yeah, E for Espeon. Well, you get like screens and stuff. You're a little more useful than like these Pokemon. You know, like, these Pokemon just don't really do much, you know? Like, this, I guess, does more than E. It's fine. It's fine in E tier. I'm liking the tier list so far. Let's continue it. Heracross, I think you're not deserving of E tier, but you're D tier. I mean, it has Moxie and Guts, which are both really good abilities. You know, it can do some good damage, but once again, you know, it's just like pretty frail, not that fast. Like, it's a mediocre mon, you know. Sneasel, I'm considering putting it in B tier. Because it's the best utilized, it's the best enabler for multiple good things, which is beat up. And we have Weavile all the way down here. I don't know why it's next to it. I think I'm going to put Weavile 1 tier above, just because of that extra damage and stuff that it has. Like, yeah, this guy can't be flinched, but this guy does some other cool stuff. So I'm going to leave it like this, but Sneasel, just know that Sneasel and Weavile are pretty much the same, and you can really just opt, like, their player preference. So I'm going to actually just put them both in B tier, I think. Because, like I said, it's the best enabler for Colossal and beat up strats. Like, You can't get faster than this. Oh, that's why you use this over Sneasel, by the way. It's faster. But this is bulkier with Eviolite, although I think you still could just go with Sash. I don't know. These are Pokemon that both, I think, are deserving of B tier. And that's what we're going to give them. Just because it's the best way to use certain strategies, and without them, you're just lacking. Corsola, I'm going to give it D tier. You know, it was cool. It does some cool stuff. It's very bulky. It has Strength Sap. But it's not cutting it. It's not cutting it, you know. Octillery, I'm going to give you F tier, bud. Or E tier. You're just not doing anything. Yeah. Sorry, bud. Do they skip E? It's starting to, like... it's making me mad. Is this F tier? Like, do people... Whatever. It's E tier for this. Anyway, so we have Delibird in E tier. It's not good. I'm sorry. Mantine, I'm going to give a D tier. Because once again, it's not bad enough to put in E tier because I think it's better than all these Pokemon. You know, it has Swift Swim. It also has Unburden, which could be cool. Wait, is that right? I think that's right. Oh, well. It's cool. I like Mantine. It's pretty cool. And also, like, it's, once again, a really good synergy with Raichu. And I like Raichu a lot. And Raichu's probably more deserving of C tier, but we're leaving it at B tier for right now. It's fine. Kingdra, once again, needs to be in B tier. You know, it's right there with Politoed. I'm going to put it right next to Politoed. I think Rain is a B tier combo. It's good, but, you know, it has a lot of things that it has to worry about. And, yeah. But it's definitely good. It's almost A tier. It's almost A tier. But it's B tier. It's almost A tier, though. Speaking of almost the tier above, Hitmontop is C tier, but he's almost B tier. But not actually. I think C tier is very generous for this Pokemon. So, you know, like, it's good. It has, you know, priority moves, as like good stab moves, close combat, Mach Punch, or I think Bullet Punch, actually. I don't think it even gets Mach Punch. But yeah, like, you know, it's pretty fast. It's pretty good. Actually, it's not, like, absurdly fast. It's not that fast of a Pokemon. But, you know, it's pretty good. It has good stats. And then it also has Intimidate. It also has, you know, Wide Guard, which can be good in certain formats. Like, Hitmontop deserves C tier in this format. I think it definitely gets B tier in, like, certain past formats. But for now, it's C tier. Miltank gets D tier. It's not that good, but it does do some cool stuff. So I'll give a D tier over E tier. Blissey, once again, it gets meme tier. Like, you're a meme, you know, whatever, it's fine. Ludicolo, I'm gonna give C tier. It's a worse Pokemon than Kingdra most of the time. You know, when you're making a rain team, you know, I default to Kingdra. I think most players do. So I'm gonna leave Kingdra in B and then Ludicolo in C. But, you know, it's a pretty good one. It's like okay. Shiftry gets D tier. I'd give it E tier, but, you know, like Chlorophyll is good enough of ability to move you up, but, you know, it's one of the worst ones of that ability, so whatever. C tier, I'm gonna put Ludicolo here in C tier as well. You know, the old Rain Core, it's just not as good as our Pelipper Kingdra most of the time, but, you know, they do have their bigger things, you know, like Politoed is bulkier, but Pelipper has Tailwind, so, you know, they do different things, but yeah, I mean, one is, you know, like much better most of the time. Usage stats, that's really all I gotta say. Gardevoir, I feel weird giving it D tier because it's such a cool Pokemon. It's a Pokemon a lot of people like, but I don't think it's better than any of these guys in C tier. So yeah, I'm also gonna move this guy down, Cloyster down, and Wigglytuff, I think, and Clefable, I think. And Tauros. I think the rest Pokemon are like fine at C. Ninjask. No, ain't nobody using Ninjask. It's an E. I'm sorry. Meme tier for Shedinja. I think that's fine. Exploud, we'll give in, I guess, E tier. Like, it doesn't really do anything. Sableye, I think Sableye in B tier is fair. You know, it's a really good enabler for a lot of things. It's the best, like, Sunny Day Prankster user. It gets Quash, which is obviously very good. You know, an array of great moves like Will-O-Wisp. You know, Will-O-Wisp, Sunny Day. It gets Quash. It gets, like, Hex. It gets... Why did I say Hex? That's not even that good of a move. You know, Foul Play. Does Sableye get beat up? Sableye doesn't get beat up. I said that before. It doesn't get beat up. Yeah, Sableye, I think, is pretty good. You know, it's the best Pokemon that we've seen that's pairing with Charizard most of the time. We see Ninetales a lot of the time, too. I think they're fine to be in B tier. Mawile gets E tier. Its Mega's gone. We'll never see its Mega again, so it's E tier. D tier from Electric. I think that's fine. You know, plus minus is a cool ability, but not very used. And then, you know, Intimidate is good, but there's a lot better Intimidate users usually. Sharpedo, I'm just going to put you in E tier. Nobody's using it. Whalelord, once again. Whalelord gets meme tier, actually, because a lot of the time it's like PP stalling. So, yeah, it's a meme. Torkoal, why are you in here? Are all the banned guys in here? Whoever made this forgot Torkoal. Okay. Okay, banned lol. What? Okay. Whatever. Yeah. So yeah, Torkoal is banned. Flygon, I'm gonna give a D because I really like Flygon. It's deserving of E, but it's cool. And, you know, it does more things than most of the E Pokemon do. So I'm gonna leave it in D. Wishcash, nobody's using that thing. Put it in E. Crawdaunt, I'll give it D. It's better than E Pokemon. You know, like, I mean, it can be a good Trick Room Sweeper. It has knockoff. It has, like, pretty strong attacks. It has Aqua Jet. And a good attack stat. Like, Choice Band this thing, and, like, you can do some cool stuff, especially during Trick Room. So I'm going to leave it in D. Claydol, E tier. Milotic, you move up to B tier, I think. You know, you got worse. I think, you know, not as much Intimidate and stuff in this format. Not as much, you know, like, Rillaboom is gone, though, so that's something good for Milotic. Nobody's really using Milotic, though. You know, a lot of people are opting to go for, like, Bisharp or, like, Braviary before that for, like, Intimidate deterrents. So I think it's deserving of B, you know, throughout the format. We still have Durant and let me talk here for a second. Durant plus Milotic is good. And we still have that. So I think, you know, in the format, I think it's fine to be at B tier. It's maybe deserving of C tier, but we're going to give it B tier. Like, I like Milotic a lot. I think a lot of people do, so, yeah. The next one, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. Dusclops to S tier. You know, this, I think Dusclops is probably the highest up in S tier. You know, Clefairy being the lowest up in S tier so far that we have. But yeah, I mean, Dusclops, it's the bulkiest Trick Room setter that we can have. You know, yeah, it's susceptible to taunt, but that's it. You know, bulky, it's super bulky. It does good damage with Nightshade and Pain Split. You know, or like consistent good damage, especially if you use both. It has Haze, which is great. It has Will-O-Wisp, Helping Hand. You know, just an array of great moves that everybody loves on their team. And Dusclops, you know, speaks for itself as far as usage stats go and bulk alone. Like, Eviolite Dusclops is ridiculous. So yeah, it's good. Glalie, E tier. Luxray gets D tier. It's a cool Pokemon. Moxie is good, you know, or not Moxie. Guts is good, as well as Intimidate. Both great abilities. It just doesn't use. It's like it's just not used enough. It's not that good of a Pokemon. Like, if you're just going for an Intimidate user, you go for the S tier mons, like things like Arcanine. Like, if you just need to add an Arcanine or an Intimidate thing on your team, nobody immediately goes, oh, Luxray. Like, it's cool. It's a great Pokemon, but yeah, it's just not that great. Like, it's definitely one of the high D tiers, but yeah, only really because of Intimidate most of the time. Roserade, I think it's almost deserving of C. Once again, this is another Pokemon that's like D tier, but like is the best D tier Pokemon that you can get. I think it's good. So yeah, that's what we're gonna go with. E tier for this guy. Like, nobody's using Vespiquen. I wish Vespiquen was better. I do, because like attack order and defend order are really cool, and it has some good moves, and is like, but it's like typing is bad, and its stats are bad, and it's just like not that good. Cherim, is this? Yeah, Cherim. I'm gonna give a D tier. You know, this once again is another good Pokemon for D tier. Like, Flower Guard is good. That was always a good ability. I don't know if that's what it's called. Flower Guard. It's something. It's cool though. It's a good thing. But yeah, we're gonna move on. B tier for Gastrodon. I think Gastrodon has shown off its worth, you know, with all these great water types we have in the meta. I mean, just from what we've seen so far, we have Lapras, Milotic, Azumarill, the Rain Core, a lot of good water types in the meta, and we still haven't even seen Rotom Wash or the Primarina, and both of those Pokemon are absolutely ridiculous. So Yeah, I think that's fine. And actually, looking over this list, I don't think Primarina's on here. So, oh well. We'll add a couple of things at the end if they're not there. Driftblim, I'm sorry, you got, you know, Unburdened. You got Unlucky. I'm sorry, I'll put you right there with Hitmonlee. You're not good anymore, but you were really cool with Rillaboom, if that makes you feel better, Driftblim. E tier. Stupid skunk. D tier, highest D tier, maybe C tier. Bronzong has had its time in metas before, you know, showing off its worth as a really great Pokemon. You know, fairly bulky, good Trick Room setter, has Levitate, which is an amazing ability. Also has access to Heat Proof. If you want to go for that, you can go for a Berry plus a good ability. Make its weaknesses not that bad. You know, Trick Room is good. Gyro Ball is good under Trick Room. It's a good mon, but it's not being used right now. And, you know, this Pokemon being in the meta, Dusclops, it makes sense why we're not using a lot of Bronzong. Riolu. I think this Pokemon's deserving of C as well. The copycat strat is very good and very alive still with Hatterene. And then we also have coaching now with things like Terrakion and stuff, so it's good. Definitely is good. And I'm going to leave it at that. It's good. Lucario. I want to give it E tier. I'm going to give it D tier because it's better than the E tier Pokemon. But yeah, if you're looking for a good justified Pokemon, even of like the same typings or similar typings of fighting, even fighting steel, like the actual same typing, we have Cobalion, which is actually just faster and more defensive and can do more, like around the similar damage output with justified. So, you know, I think Cobalion's just better, but Lucario is definitely cool. Drapion, I'm gonna put you in D tier. You do some cool stuff with Sniper and stuff, but it's just not that great, you know. Toxicroak, nobody's using Toxicroak. I want to give it E tier, but it's the highest of E tiers. Abomasnow, I'm gonna give it E tier, but the highest of E tiers because Vanillix and Alolan Ninetales are just better, right? Like they are. Yeah, we're missing a lot of stuff here, but oh well, it'll be okay. Licky, I'm gonna give a D tier. It's better than E tier Pokemon. You know, the ability to get rid of weathers is pretty good, but we don't have very much weather right now. But yeah, still, like, I think it's pretty worth of there. Rhyperior is good. I think it's a good Trick Room sweeper. I'm going to put it in B tier. It's probably deserving of C tier. It's not being used very much. You know, Intimidate and not worrying about its weakness policy is pretty good. But, you know, we have ways to proc its own weakness policy really easily. It's really bulky in Dynamax and does a lot of damage after weakness policy. You know, I think Rhyperior has showed its vigor in this meta and in past metas, so we're going to use it there. Leafeon is another one of the better Pokemon here that, one of the better evolutions. I'm going to put it in D tier, but it is almost C tier. Almost. Chlorophyll. It's almost there. Glaceon, I'm E tier. I'm sorry, it's not good. Mamoswine, we'll put it in D tier. You know, it can do some cool stuff. Like all of these D tier Pokemon, they all do some cool stuff, and they're like worth playing on the correct team. E tier, probably not gonna want to play them on any kind of team. Memes are memes. I don't know why Torkoal was there, but oh well. PZ. That's an easy one to say here. It gets A tier. That's an easy A tier. I think, you know, it's almost deserving of S tier, but like with proper play around it, you know, it's definitely an A tier mon. You have like, you know, bountiful amount of ways to deal with it. I think it's fine at A tier. You know, I shouldn't have to say too much more about it. Gallade does some kind of cool stuff with like Imprison and stuff. So, you know, Imprison Trick Room, it does some good damage. I'll put it at D. Dusknoir, it's pretty much the same, you know, it's a good Trick Room Pokemon, like, not actually, but it's, like, not that bad. It does some good damage with, after a Trick Room, though, so we'll put it there. It's an enabler for, like, Anger Point, but that's really it, so it's there. Stoutland, I'm gonna put it in C. I'm specking up a little bit of Stoutland. We got Sandrush, we got, does it get Moxie? What's its third ability? I always forget. Oh, Scrappy. And Intimidate. 3 amazing abilities. It has pretty solid stats. You know, it's pretty fast. It has good, like, moves as far as, like, spread and coverage and support. So, you know, I think, you know, Sandrush support Stoutland could definitely be good. I think Stoutland could be good for a couple of reasons. So, I'm putting it in C tier. Sorry if you're mad. It's there. Next, we have Leopard. I think Liepard is also fine to be in C. You like how I pronounce it 2 different ways back to back? Liepard. I don't know. It's cool. You know, it's a prankster Pokemon. It's great. It has prankster plus weather. It has prankster T-Wave, which is good. It has prankster fake tears, which is good. You know, it's a very good prankster Mon. You slap a focus sash on it and give it some good moves. It's a good Mon. Musharna, I'm going to give a D tier. It's one of the higher end D tier once again, though. You know, this Pokemon is very, very bulky. It has Trick Room, which is good. You know, its typing is fine. Psychic. Is it Fairy? Psychic Fairy? It's either Psychic Fairy or Psychic. I don't know. But it's cool. D tier for Unfezant. Unfezant, you know, super luck Pokemon with good speed control in the form of Max Airstream. I think it does get Tailwind as well. So, yeah, I mean, Unfezant's cool, but not that good. Gigalith, I'm going to give it C tier. I'm kind of biased and want to give it B tier because I've had a lot of success with it so far in the season. I think it's really good. So I'm going to give it B tier. So, like, Dusclops plus Gigalith is really, really strong. And I think, like, you know, if you're familiar with the channel, I've been using that a little bit so far in Series 6. It was the first team that I made for Series 6 was Dusclops and Gigalith. I think it's really good. I think it's really strong in the meta. So, I'm giving it B tier. Swoobat gets E tier. It gets D tier. It's better than the E tier Pokemon, but not by a lot. Conkeldurr, I'm going to give you B tier. I think it's probably deserving of A tier, but I want the A tier mons to be a little bit better. Conkeldurr is so close. I'm giving it A tier. It's just so good. It's really, really strong. It's great under Trick Room. It's great without Trick Room because of Mach Punch. You know, you can make it a mid-speed Pokemon, make it good under Tailwind. You can make it a low-speed Pokemon, make it good only under Trick Room, but also fine, you know, otherwise. With Assault Vest, it can become bulky. You know, it can be a max Pokemon, but you're probably not going to use it as a max very frequently. But with Guts Boost, it does a lot of damage, even with Max Knuckle. You know, it has a pretty deep coverage move pool. It's good. I think it's really good. And with losing Togekiss out of the meta, its biggest scary Pokemon, I think it's really strong in the meta. Seismitoad, I'll give it D tier. It's like once again, one of the better Pokemon in D tier though. You know, it's good. It just dies to grass type Pokemon. And it has Swift Swim, which is good, but like, yeah, it dies to grass Pokemon, which sucks. Throw in Sawk E tier. Maybe Sawk gets D tier. Throw's like the worst. Yeah. Scolipede can get D tier, that's fine. You know, Swords Dance is pretty cool. Once again, it's like kind of high up there though. Speed Boost in Swords Dance and then Baton Pass is really cool, but you know, it's a lot to get off. So, yeah. Chlorophyll Lilligant, I'm giving it C tier. It's right there with the Executor. I think Executor is worse though. I think this is better. It has Follow Me, or not Follow Me. As After You, you know, an array of good attacks and Sleep Powder. So, like, I think it's a good Chlorophyll Pokemon. C tier is a good place for Crocodile as well. You know, Intimidate's good. The Anger Point stuff is cool with Urshifu. And, yeah, I think it's pretty deserving of C tier. Same with Darmanitan. I think Darmanitan has shown off that it's pretty strong and, you know, pretty good in a meta driven by, you know, a lot of flying and grass type Pokemon. Although those are two you know, typings that were kind of lacking in really good mons. I mean, look up here. There's one flying type Pokemon, you know, like as far as this my list goes here, and then like no grass type Pokemon. So, you know, I think the Pokemon's really strong in the correct meta, but it's not really the correct meta right now. Maractus, I'll give it D. It has it has 2 good abilities actually. I think it gets Solar Power and it has Storm Drain. So it has some good usages, but like there's probably a better Pokemon most of the time for the ability you're going for there. Crustle, E tier. Sorry, bud. C tier will give Scrafty. You know, Fake Out's good, Intimidate's great. Like, those are great. You know, it has Knockoff, I believe, as well. And good damage with, like, close combat and stuff. So, yeah, I think it's pretty deserving of C tier. Sigilyph, I'm going to give it D tier. It's pretty deserving of E tier, though, to be honest. Cofragigus, once again, D tier. Not really used, but it, you know, it has some good usages, and in the past it's been really strong, like in a couple of formats. Garbodor, it deserves D tier, with like, but like this plus Lucario is cool. Like I did that a long time ago, like with Bone Rush. You hit it, it activates the weakness policy with Bone Rush, but it also activates your weak armor getting fast. So, you know, I think it does a couple of really cool things. And but yeah, it is a D tier combo. D tier for Zoroark as well. I wish it was better, but it's just not that great. Gothitelle is really good, actually. So I'm going to give Gothitelle a C tier, but it's almost deserving of B tier. But I'm not going to put it in B tier, but it might deserve it. C tier, it's good. You know, it's a pretty fast Trick Room sweeper. Or not sweeper. It's a pretty fast, like, Trick Room Pokemon. You know, 60 base speed isn't, like, nothing, but it's overspeeding a lot of Pokemon. So you can make it min speed and underspeed, like, most of the meta, but then you can make it, like, not min speed, and it still outspeeds about the same amount of Pokemon. But, you know, Trick Room is good. Supportive Role is really good. Ally Switch is stupid, but it's good. You know, we have Will-O-Wisp. Like, it's a good... Actually, it might not get Will-O-Wisp. I don't know. Cinccino. D tier. It does some cool stuff, but yeah, it's you know, not worthy of like these of up there. Reuniclus, I'm actually gonna give that C tier. So this really works well with the copycat strat as well. You know, like Wolfie won or got second out of, I think it was he placed second out of regional with Liepard and Reuniclus. You know, and that could be like mimicked with the Riolu Hatterene. I think that's the way people would run it nowadays. But yeah, I think, you know, like, Reuniclus is deserving of C. This is a high D tier of Vanillix, but I just think, you know, Alolan Ninetales does it better. Emolga gets E tier. Scavalier gets D tier, I think. It's like a high D tier, so it's almost C tier. But yeah, it's there. Amoonguss, I shouldn't have to explain this much either. I think S tier is deserving. Once again, it's another Pokemon that it can fit on just about any team. You know, Spore Rage Powder is ridiculous. It also now has Pollen Puff. Energy Ball actually does pretty consistent damage to Water type Pokemon, which, like I said, is pretty big in the meta. So, yeah, I think Amoonguss is definitely deserving of S tier. Jellicent is a good Pokemon. I think it's definitely deserving of its C tier. You know, good Trick Room setter. It can be pretty fast as well. It's like at the same speed tier as Gothitelle, which is like just barely faster. You know, Water Spout is good at full HP. It also has Strength Sap. It's pretty solid. So yeah, I like it. And also Dragapult is gone for the meta, so you know it's a little bit better now. Galvantula, E tier. Nobody's using that thing. Maybe D tier, but we're leaving it there. Ferrothorn, I want to give it A tier. It might be more deserving of B tier, but for now we're gonna give it A tier. You know, grass type Pokemon is something we're lacking in the meta. We have that, Rotom Mow, Virizion, maybe. Not that many grass type Pokemon for a really water driven meta. You know, Lapras, Primarina, Rotom Wash, like I was saying, are just huge in the meta. So I think it's pretty good to have this on your team. Also, you know, it's really slow, so it's good under Trick Room. It gives you a good check to Trick Room matchups. It's really good in rain teams as well. Lapras likes it for that reason because, you know, or it likes Lapras because it sets up with Max Geyser, which is good. You know, it has a good matchup against Amoonguss because they can't spore you. So yeah, it's good. I think it's very deserving of A tier. Klinklang gets D tier. Once again, really high D tier though. It's a really good out to Porygon Z. That was very good against that, and it likes rain a lot too. I've seen a couple of players play it to a little bit of success in the early format of Series 6 so far, and I think it's pretty cool. Beheeyem, I'm giving it D tier. I think this is also like another Pokemon that could be good. It can set up Trick Room. It can do some massive damage in the correct times, and with you know, like electric or psychic terrain, which we don't have like in DD anymore, but like it's still like could be cool. Chandelure, I think C tier is pretty well fitting for Chandelure. A fast and imprisoned Trick Room user is good. Also just fast Heat Wave with like choice or like with Focus Sash is very solid. So I think it's good. Flash Fire is also really good for like Durant and stuff. So yeah, I think you know, Chandelier deserves C. Haxorus D tier. You know, it's pretty cool, but I think it's a lot better in singles. Like it's not really that good in VGC. Beartic, we're gonna give it D tier. I think Alolan Sandslash does it better, and that's really it. Excelgor, I'm gonna give it C tier, just because it's the only good enabler for Palossand. I think that's a pretty like well-rounded strat right now. This Stunfisk goes to E. I don't think that's, you know, anything outlandish. Same with that. Same with Golurk, Dredagon, Golurk. Bisharp is good here. Bisharp, I almost want to give it B tier. It's really solid actually, and it's good against Intimidate. It's really good. It's good against PZ, because PZ will max strike, lowering your speed, and then you attack it really hard with like Lash Out or something. It's very, very strong. So yeah, I think it's pretty deserving of B tier. I think it's a low B tier if anything, but maybe highest C tier. But we're gonna leave it at high B tier, or in B tier. So yeah, Buffalant, I'm gonna give it to D tier. I would put it in E tier, but recently like a good player used it and saw a little bit of success, so I'm giving it D tier just because of that, at the very least. Braviary, I think, is deserving of C tier. You know, if we're just talking about good Defiant users, you know, it's almost fair to put it in B tier, but I haven't seen like any Braviary this format. I've seen more Bisharp, and I think Bisharp's more deserving of B tier. And I don't want to have multiple, like I already have competitive Milotic and Defiant Bisharp up here in B tier. So like, yeah, Braviary is fair to be in C tier. It does have Tailwind though, which is really good. Mandibuzz, I think pretty fair to be in D tier. You know, Mandibuzz does some cool stuff. It's pretty good against Trick Room. You know, Overcoat's a good ability. Like, it does some cool stuff, but yeah, not like much. Not too much. Durant is pretty deserving of C tier. I think it's like a high C tier, one of the highest C tier. You know, Hustle, Dynamax Hustle on a fast Pokemon is like absurdly strong. But, you know, things like Arcanine Heat Wave just do so much damage to it that I put it in C tier. Hydreigon is a Pokemon that a lot of people are expecting to be really, really good. I think I'm going to leave it in B tier because of the hype, but I have not seen it doing that much, and I haven't used it on any of my teams, although I definitely should because I think it is really, really strong. Volcarona, I think, is pretty deserving of B tier, or at least a high C tier. It's one of those Pokemon that's really, really high C tier, same with Durant, but I think it's more deserving of C tier than B tier. You know, it's really good. It has Rage Powder, so it can even be used as a supportive Pokemon. But I think Quiver Dance is the better way to play it. And Rock got a lot of debuffs with losing that Tyranitar. So I think it's, you know, Volcarona's time is now. But I haven't seen it do enough in the format, so I'm going to leave it at C tier. But it is the highest up in C tier. Diggersby gets a low C tier or a high D tier. Probably high D tier. I did use it a lot at the end of last format. Huge Power Life Orb is really strong, and I paired it with Clefairy. That was actually a rental code that I used for a little while. It was really strong, but, you know, we lost Whimsicott, which was a pivotal Pokemon to that team. But I still think it can see some success. So high D tier, but low C tier is probably what it should be. Talonflame, I don't think this will come as a surprise to anybody in A tier. It's the only priority Tailwind user we have anymore. It gets Quick Guards to stop Fake Out or Protect as well. It also just has a lot of damage with, you know, Flare Blitz or Gale Wings. And it's very, very fast and has Tailwind, which is priority. So it's definitely deserving of A tier in my opinion. It's really the only way to use Tailwind if you want to use Tailwind like regularly and very consistently. Pingoro, I'm going to give it E tier. It's not good. Meowstic, male, I'm giving it C tier. I think it's almost deserving of B tier as well. It's a great Prankster Pokemon. It has Prankster T-Wave, Prankster Fake Tears, and even Prankster Psychic Surge, or Psychic Terrain, which is something that could be interesting. Probably not that good, but it is cool. But yeah, Prankster T-Wave and Prankster Fake Out on a good Pokemon that's pretty bulky, I think is enough to give it C tier. Aegislash, I feel bad not giving it like better than D tier, but I'm gonna give it D tier. It's just not that great right now, you know, in a Dynamax format where Max Shield doesn't switch you, or Max Guard doesn't do anything for it. Like, it's just not as strong as it could be. Aromatisse, I'm gonna give E tier. It just doesn't really do much. Slurpuff, I'm gonna give D tier. It's gonna get another treatment like Sorry Guys, like the Unburdened Pokemon that are just not that good right now. So yeah, Malamar, it gets the highest D tier because it has a good ability, being the competitive, which is really good, and then it also, you know, has pretty solid stats and can dish out some good damage, especially after a competitive boost. So yeah, it deserves that. Barbaracle E, you know, I don't think I should really say anything else about that. Dragalge gets C tier, although it gets, once again, a very high C tier. I think it's a really, really powerful Trick Room sweeper in the format, so yeah, I think it's good. And I used it a little bit at the end of last format, and I think, you know, it was in a good position then. It actually got in a worse position because of Togekiss and Rillaboom leaving the meta, but yeah, I still think it's really good. Heliolisk gets D, but a really high D tier. You know, it's a pretty cool Pokemon, but it's not that great. Sylveon gets A tier. I think Sylveon is really strong in this meta. Very, very strong. Packs a hard punch with Hyper Voice every single turn. You can use it with very, however you want, really. You can use it as a Dynamax Pokemon, a Pokemon that won't Dynamax and just hits Hyper Voice like regularly every turn. It's good. I think it's a very strong Pokemon and definitely deserving of A tier. Hawlucha, it's another one of those unburdened Pokemon that just like, you know, got shafted unfortunately, so bye-bye. Goodra, I'm gonna give it B tier. I think Goodra is really strong, and it's really showed off with the Comfy in Lapras. So I think it's definitely fine to be at B tier. It's a Pokemon that when I'm making a team, I want to have an out for, because I don't want to just get walled out entirely from Goodra. So yeah, I think it's deserving. Klefki, I'm gonna give you C tier. You're just another great prankster Pokemon. Prankster with screens, prankster with T-Wave. Prankster is good. It's just good. Also, it's really good against PZ. Setting up screens and resisting it entirely is pretty good. Trevenant gets it gets D tier. It's better than E tier Pokemon. You know, it can do some stuff. We don't have very many grass type Pokemon. It gets Trick Room. You know, Hornleech is really good attack. It's good. I think it's okay. Gourgeist, big Gourgeist gets high D tier, maybe low C tier. Once again, we don't have any grass type Pokemon, but a big thing about this was you hit your own Tyranitar to get rid of its or like with Trick or Treat to get rid of its its quad weakness. So, you know, losing Tyranitar made this Pokemon a little worse, but I still think it's a cool Pokemon. Avalugg, Ice Table gets D tier. Sorry, you're just not that good. Noivern gets high D tier. Once again, like, this is a good Pokemon, but it's just like not that good, you know. But like Frisk is really good. It's a fast Tailwind setter, which could be really good. I think it gets Taunt as well, like Tailwind Taunt. You can just like control the speed really well. But I think most of the time Talonflame is gonna do that better. But I still think Noivern is like worth a try. D tier for Vikavolt. It's just not that good. Ribombee, I think gets C tier. Speed Swap, fast Speed Swap is really good, especially we've seen that with stuff like Snorlax, you know. It's just good in general, and its ability to make your guys not fall asleep is really good, actually. Lycanroc, you get D tier, but like a pretty high D tier as well, you know, because of the ability Sandrush is really good, and Accelerock is really good too. I'm gonna put Toxapex in D tier. It's just not that good in VGC, you know, it doesn't really do that much. Mudsdale, I'm gonna give C tier. I think it's a Pokemon that when you play against, you have to respect it. It has the ability to go for stamina, but it also has its own tempo, which can ignore Intimidate, making it like, you know, after an Intimidate or two, this Pokemon's not really doing much. If it's not doing much damage, it's just not that good. You just pretty much ignore it, but you can't really ignore it if it self-swaggers and goes to +2. So, yeah, I think it's really solid, and I've like wanted to play Grimmsnarl Mudsdale once again, but I just haven't yet this format, but I probably will. D tier for Araquanid, but a pretty high D tier. You know, it's a very strong Pokemon in Trick Room, but you know, with its ability, like, it's pretty much a mono water type Pokemon, and that's like not as good as it could be. I'm gonna give E tier for Lurantis. It doesn't really do much. Shiinotic gets D tier because of Spore. Salazzle is a fast beat up user. I'm gonna give it C tier. Because it's actually not that bad. It's fast beat up, which is good, but it also, like, you know, can do some good damage with Sludge Wave and Heat Bomb. Sludge Wave and Heat Wave. Sludge Bomb and Heat, whatever. Beware, I'm gonna give D tier. It doesn't do much damage or anything, but it's like not that bad. It has a deep move pool. And you know, max strikes is good. Serena is a Pokemon that deserves C tier. I think it deserves maybe B tier in this format. Like I said, we have a lack of grass type Pokemon, so it works pretty well in the format. Also, getting rid of Fake Out is really good especially for a Pokemon like Talonflame, or any of your support Pokemon like a Moongus or Clefairy. It's good, and then it's also can become a really good max Pokemon as well. So I think it's pretty deserving. Comfy, I'm gonna give it C tier, but it's almost deserving of being. Actually, I'm going to give it B tier. So, like, it's a great enabler for both Lapras weakness policy and Goodra weakness policy. Either way, you're dishing out a lot of damage. And, yeah, this Pokemon's pretty good. I like it a lot. I think it's, you know, it makes those strats really strong. Oranguru is D tier. It's a bad Trick Room setter in our current meta. Just because it's not as bulky as other bulky Trick Room setters. But it's like, yeah, there's not much reason to play Oranguru right now. Passimian, I'm going to give it C tier. I think it's another great Defiant user, and it also has that versatility to be used with like the Misty Terrain Azumarill strats, which is cool. Golisopod, I'm going to give D tier. It's a fast Aqua Jet user, which is cool. Or not really fast. It is Aqua Jet though, which could be cool for like proccing your own like weakness policy and stuff, but I think there's better Pokemon to do that. Palossand, I want to give D or B tier, but I'm gonna give it C tier. But like, you know, pretty high C, or pretty high C tier. I think the strat is really strong. Excelgor with Palossand, I think is a really strong strat, but you know, redirection just stops it. So yeah. Pukumuku is puke. It's E tier. It's bad. Silvalley's little boy type null D tier, and then regular Silvalley is high D tier. Just because like type null isn't that good, but it can be eviolated, I guess. And then Silvalley does some cool stuff, and it's worth it. Turtonator E tier. It's a turd. It's bad. Togedemaru D tier. It's cool. High D tier though. But usually if you're gonna use a lightning rod Pokemon that like has fake out and nuzzle, like there's a better one being the Raichu that I put in B tier that actually deserves C tier, I think. Yeah. Sorry, Raichu guys. Mimikyu is banned too. What? Drampa is D tier. You know, Cloud9's cool. It's a good Trick Room setter, which is cool. Or Trick Room sweeper. Same with Delmise. It's a cool Trick Room setter. Or Trick Room sweeper. But after an Intimidator tool, you know, it loses a lot of its versatility. Komodo gets C tier. I think it's pretty good. It's very fast. It's very strong. And Clangor Souls is an insane attack. Inteleon gets C tier as well. You know, I think Inteleon's a really strong Pokemon going into this format. Actually, it does a lot of damage, and it's one of the fastest Pokemon we have. So I think it's fair to be in C tier. Two Greedents don't make it any better. So yeah, D tier. Corviknight's really strong, actually. I'm gonna put Corviknight in B tier. I think it's just like a really consistent Pokemon. You know, it doesn't really get beaten by that much. You know, Arcanine Heat Wave does a lot of damage, and like Thunderbolt from like PZ or like Lapras does a lot of damage. But that's really the only ways to do a lot of damage. You can use this Pokemon as like a bulky Tailwind, like a slower Pokemon that can set Tailwind or be good like under Trick Room. Or you can use it as like a bulk up or Iron Defense and then Dynamax Pokemon. So yeah, I think, you know, Corviknight's definitely fair to be in B tier. Orbeetle gets D tier. You know, Max Orbeetle, I've always wanted to be good, but I've never really gotten to like play it to much success, but I think it is cool. Thievul, I've seen a couple of people using Thievul. Why? Guys, why? Am I missing something? It's just a bad unburdened Pokemon, right? Like, yeah, why? Eldegoss gets D tier. It did some cool stuff at the beginning of the game, but yeah, no, D tier. Double also gets D tier. It did some cool stuff like with like or like with the Cotton Guard or whatever, but it's not that good. Dreadnought gets high D tier. It's a pretty solid Swift Swim Pokemon, but yeah, it's 4 times weak to grass. It's really, you know, lackluster. Bolton gets high D tier as well. Strongjaw and Competitive are both really, really good abilities, and it's very fast. It's a very speedy Pokemon, but it doesn't really do that much still. Like, with all that being said, it still doesn't do that much. Colossal, I think, is an A tier strat. I think it's really, really strong. Every time that I run into a Colossal team, I make my play according to the fact that they have Colossal. I bring my Urshifu if they have Colossal, my Water Urshifu, because it just takes it out immediately. Like, you have to really just respect this Pokemon the second you see it, and I think that makes this Pokemon just unbelievably strong and very, very fair to be an A tier Pokemon. Flapple gets D tier. You know, it's quad weak to ice, which is really bad. Same with this one, Appleton. You know, that really holds it back. But I think it is cool. Sandaconda gets D. You know, its trapping is cool, but it's not that good. Cramorant, somebody played that on one of the first events. Why? Why did you play? Why did you do that? Barraskewda gets C tier. It has 2 great abilities. Swift Swim makes it the fastest thing like ever. And Propeller Tail is Stalwart, which gets right through redirection. So I think it's pretty deserving of C tier. It's a good Pokemon. You know, it hits really hard. Its attack is really good. But after an Intimidator 2, the Pokemon's pretty mediocre. So that's why it's C tier. D tier for Centiskorts is not really doing anything. This guy does some cool stuff. Grapplock does some cool stuff, but not very good. Sinistea or Poltegeist does some cool stuff as well, but not very good. Hatterene is deserving of C tier. Maybe B tier. It's one of our best Trick Room Pokemon and best Trick Room setters. You know, it can't get taunted because of Magic Bounce is really cool. And yeah, it can't get Spored as well, which is really cool. So, I mean, the Pokemon does a lot of stuff in the current meta, and it's definitely good. And its G-Max move is amazing. Like, it's definitely fair to be in C tier, maybe even B tier. Like, it's really good. Grimmsnarl is also I'm going to put it in C tier. It's another Prankster Pokemon with Prankster Screens and T-Wave, but it's also pretty bulky and has Spirit Break, which is a really good attack as well. It also gets Fake Out. So, yeah, Grimmsnarl is definitely deserving of C tier, maybe even B tier. Obstacoon, D tier. You know, it's not that great, but it is cool. Berserker gets D tier as well because it's pretty cool for the Steel-type things, but, yeah, it's not actually that good. E tier for Corsola, you're just not that good. Surfetch for D tier, it's pretty good under Trick Room. Mr. Rhyme gets high E tier. Nobody's using that thing. It's not good. Runerigus also gets E tier. It's not that good. Alcremie gets high D tier. It actually does some cool stuff. Decorate is an absurd attack. So yeah, it gets D tier. It's pretty good. Phalanx, E tier. Nobody's using that thing. Actually, I'm going to give it D tier because it does have a couple of cool things. Pinsirchin, I'm putting in D tier, but the highest D tier you can go because the Alolan Raichu with Pinsirchin strat is actually pretty good. Frostmoth, E tier. Nobody's used that thing ever. This thing has a really cool ability, but its like special defense is abysmal, or regular defense, I don't remember, but I think it's special. Ice Cube, so it's kind of cool, but it's not that good. Morpeko is kind of cool, but it's not good. Copperage is kind of cool, but after an Intimidator or two, it's worthless. Dracozolt gets A tier, and I didn't click on it. Dracozolt gets A tier, and I think this is another one of those Pokemon that, like, you play against one of these 5, right? You play against, and Goodra as well. You play against Lapras. Butterfree goes to C tier, I'm sorry. Anyway, you play against a team that has a Lapras or a Charizard or a PZ or a Dracozolt or a Colossal or a Goodra team, and that's their team. Is one of those Pokemon is like the main core of their team, and that's what you have to respect immediately. So I think just that alone makes it worth A tier. And Goodra I would put it A tier, but I think Lapras is more consistent than Goodra, doing like a similar thing. Arctivish, no. Arctozolt, no. Dracovish, yes, it gets B tier. Almost deserving of A tier, but you know, Gastron's really good, and there are a lot of outs, and if you have a Tailwind team of your own, you can outspeed this Pokemon like pretty consistently. Although losing Dragapult was huge for that Pokemon. Urshifu gets, oh man, I want to give it a S tier so bad. I dropped it. Where did that go actually? Oh, I lost the Urshifu. Where is it? Oh, I lost Urshifu actually. Okay, well, Urshifu gets S tier. It's probably A tier. Duraludon gets B tier. I think Duraludon's really, really strong and it's really shown off. If you find the Urshifu in here, you won. Good job. I can't find the Urshifu now, but it's gone. But it would be an A tier. Urshifu is an A tier Pokemon. It's like similar to these kind of Pokemon, but yeah, it's very good. Anyway, that is going to be it for the tier list. Look, there's no Pokemon left. There are still Pokemon in the world, though. Primarina. Primarina gets A tier. Decidueye gets C tier. You know, the Alolan Pokemon, Alolan Marowak, gets B tier probably. And same with Alolan Ninetales. Everything else, I probably missed a couple of guys, but oh well. Terrakion and Cobalion get B tier. Yeah, that's going to be it. I have to go to the bathroom really bad, so I'm going to finish off this video now. And also it's an hour, so yeah. Long. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, join my Patreon, join my Twitter, or follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, and support the Patreon. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all those things. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.